Scott's been an awesome partner. We go way back. You were at the EDC, you went to the county, came back, and you're just an awesome asset to the community. And just really appreciate the friendship and partnership on many different things. So it's cool. And then St. Charles Community College, and then membership board, OPO, and Schleit. So I just met Schleit. Where is he? Schleit. Your first name again is Tyler. Skyler has his own freelance photography, and he also does freelance marketing. So he's our official photographer tonight. So anybody needing photography, he's a great guy to go to, or freelance marketing. So he's helping out tonight. We appreciate it, Skyler. Thank you. All right, so you'll see this slide many times throughout the night. I haven't done all these in a year and a half, 2 years. So it's all new again. Do I have a blank screen? That's a good question. Hold on a minute. Gotta get the right power up here. Start this one. All right, so this is our demo day. You'll hear from 4 companies today. How many have been to this before? Anybody been to it a couple of years ago? Yeah, so several of you have. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So we have 4 companies tonight. We'll go through all that in a few minutes. So that was narrowed down from several others that applied. So this is our demo day. This is I think it's our 5th year doing this. We opened the OPO back in 2015. We bought the post office in 13 on Halloween. I remember that very specifically. But it took a year and a half to get it to look like it does today. So this is our 5th one. We missed one with COVID. We're also part of, if you're not familiar, this week is Startup Week in St. Louis. And so there are events going on all week long. And so there are several people here that are part of that program. There's opportunities all over town. And I say all over town, all over the region. A lot of it's going on that Cortex, T-Rex, all over down the old post office downtown St. Louis. There's events going on. So there's opportunities to engage and participate. So if you haven't done so, check that out. Great program. So we're excited to be part of that. And I get this question a lot. I'm surprised. And actually, from politicians, I won't say which, but they ask me, why? I mean, what is having an OPO on Main Street? What does that do for anybody? And it's a pretty basic thing. If you just look at the Kauffman Foundation, they're one of the major sponsors of entrepreneurship in the country and the world. They always have a study on it. It always says, why do startups matter? Well, that's because startups create almost all of the net new jobs. When those of you that have started a company and sold it, what happens after you sell it? It usually shrinks. So in terms of the actual job, so most of the job creation when you sell a company goes to a bigger company, and that's so it's not necessarily creating net new jobs. Net new jobs are actually created by your startups, and not only that, that's where all your innovation comes from. That's what pushes the economy along, all the creativity. That's where all the fun is too. That's the part I like. That's where you get to use your creativity and your. My first company was Society Tech, it was Quility, but it was our first tagline. Alan, where's Alan at? Is he here?
Over there.
So Alan and I, this is next year we met 30 years ago. We've been working together 30 years. And what was our first tagline? Remember that, Alan? Because things change. So that was our first tagline. When we started Quility, it was Society Tech at the time, back in 1992. So anyway, very important startups matter because that's where your jobs come from. Now that being said, startups are not easy, and that's why it's so important that we support those folks that are willing to stick their neck out and to try to create something new. The success rate is not that great, but we need everything we can to help support them. So you have this thing here, when you begin your startup, you have this valley of death. Is your time. You got to cash if you can, kind of help them out a little bit. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. And hopefully they'll make it through the seed capital, the early stage, latter stage, and that's where you start creating real jobs and bringing economic. You really have a major impact to the economy of your community. And if you haven't seen that, I mean, if you were down here on Main Street back in 1982 when Al and I started down here, you wouldn't see any cars parked out there. You'd see buildings all boarded up and look anything like this. And so you wouldn't have the restaurants that you have down here, all the shops. And you come here on the weekend, this place is packed down here now. None of that was happening back in 1992. So really important, great opportunity. What an awesome opportunity. We want to support these folks that are pitching tonight as they try to build their own companies. And so I have this one here, top 10 reasons for startup failure. So first one is, and so our judges tonight, and that's everybody here because you're all going to get a chance that we have first place, second place, or third place winners is the people's choice. So everybody here gets to judge. So you all get to use your phones, we'll have a QR code. Kate's got signs up throughout. And so things to keep in mind is, as you're voting for who you think you should, get part of the winning pot of money. Number one reason they fail is business model not viable. That's understandable. You have to find a niche in the marketplace. There's a lot of ways to do that. You run out of cash. So, that's why we're giving away some cash today. Give you a little bit of cash and encouragement. Get not enough traction, technical product issues, lack of investors, no market need, and so out-competed, customer development issues, lack of focus, and disharmony that we have fighting between the team members. Those are all things that can sink you. So anyway, that's why we're here tonight, is to hopefully help these companies make it. And again, we're going to just lay out the agenda, how this is going to work tonight, if you're not familiar. If you haven't gotten some pizza, Frank over here, which is Kate's father, he's going to be a grandfather times 9, because Kate's expecting.
Oh, wow.
By the way, Kate is doing all the heavy lifting here, because she's been working with Al and I, and Sylvianne was part of WordPack, which we sold in 2019. She still works for those guys. Kate doesn't, she works with us. So, but Sylvianne still comes back to help. So Sylvianne, thank you. She's my daughter. And Walt's around here somewhere. He had a football game, but he's coming back. So anyway, enjoy the food and drink tonight. The finalists, we're getting ready to go. And then at the end, we'll have a presentation of the checks and the hand out the cash. All right, so the prizes are going to be first place. Will be first and second place. The judges have scoring sheets, and so they're going to score those along the way. And then you all get to participate and do the People's Choice. It's a $500, and then each of the judges have $200 of cash on them that they're going to hand out. They like your answers or your response or the way you dress or the way you speak or however they feel. So they'll get a chance to have some discussion about discretionary cash. The final companies that we narrowed down to, there are 4 of them tonight, and this is the order they're going to present. So we have Veeper, am I saying that right, Mark?
Yep.
Veeper, Mark Neville, so he'll be the first one up. So Mark, you ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. And then ToDue, Daniel Mullen, so that Daniel's an OPO member. He's got his little software. He's always in there working. So he's sitting at the bar usually working on his other business, I think. But yeah, he's got a new software deal he's working on. Pronto, Corey's Seidel. Where's Corey? Back here. All right. So we're excited to have you here. And then EDUrain, Byron Pearson.
It's Brian.
Brian? Thank you. Awesome. Look forward to having you guys present.
Hey, I look forward to it.
Awesome. Okay, so those are the 4 companies that are all software related stuff. So we're excited to have them. So judges, so you want to say hello, Scott? So I already introduced Scott Barneg from EDC, so that's Economic Development Council of St. Charles County. He's the CEO and president. Scott, you wave your hand, so he's ready. All right. And then we have Janine Cotter. She's the general manager of Linden Edge Corporation, which is part of Linden.
It's part of Linden.
Part of Lindenwood.
It's a startup company in Lindenwood.
It's a startup company in Lindenwood, so that's pretty cool. And we have, so Kate's a graduate of Lindenwood, Sylviana's a graduate of Lindenwood. So we have a lot of Lindenwood grads that come to work for OPO companies, so we look forward to partnering with you even more. So that's exciting. Then, Jim, I wasn't sure which logo you put here. So, Jim Eberlein is the founder and CEO of TopUps, which he sold recently to Exactly. So, did another exit, so it's your fourth exit? It's fourth. Four businesses.
Three that really
He's being very modest, so he's raised, how much money have you raised over your 30 years or so?
the companies overall have raised, wholesale analytics is $100 million, GameSite was $150 million.
So $250 million have been raised through things that he started. So we'll go back to why are startups important? There's a reason why. So how many employees are that? Represents a lot. Over 1,000 employees, 1,000 high-paying jobs in this country. So very cool. Jim, thanks for doing this. And then last but not least, our latest big fundraiser is Mark Barneg. He's the Chief Revenue Officer from Referral. I always say that. Am I saying that right? What's that? Resilient. I always want to say Resilient, but Alan always corrects me. I just can't get out of my head. But anyway, Mark has just, you guys just raised $30 million a couple months ago. So he's an OPO member as well. We're excited to have you here. And super cool stuff. Yeah, headquarters for the US is at OPO. So big deal. So but these guys are all four of these folks are super smart, know the startup, small business world very well. And we are well qualified judges tonight. That's how I say that. All right, I already went through the cash thing here. All right, so Mark, I think we're ready to start with you. So we're going to have you come up, and then I'm going to give you this microphone. I'll give the other guys as they want to ask questions.
Such a doll.
So if they would have told me that I was going to follow Randy and I was sitting in the back, it's always hard to follow Randy. So 2015, I was actually here for that one, the original one. I've been in OPO for about 5 years, 6 years. So it's good to be back. Yeah, I'll stand here because I'm going to talk about the keyboard. So my name is Mark Neville. I'm the CTO of Veeper. So just a quick survey of everybody. Who in the audience, just put your hands up, who's had vouchers or points expire before you actually use them? Yeah, I can see quite a lot of people there. So that's why Veeper was born, because that was very frustrating for us. We got together and said, how can we solve this problem? As well as solve problems for the business as well, from stores where they're just offering these huge discounts. So promo codes, we all know about promo codes. You get the promo codes in an email and it says, hey, get 25% discount if you use this code, or you can go to a website and you'll get that promo code as well. Now that's good you know, if you're not very aligned to a particular brand. But for people who are loyal to a brand, they feel a little bit disappointed. Well, why is everyone getting 25% discount? And, you know, I'm more loyal, I should get a bigger discount. For business as well, if you're doing 25% discount on everything store-wide, it could be that you could have some items in there that you're not earning a profit margin, you know, is below that 25, so you could be losing money. So this is where Veeper, our app, steps in. It's a Shopify app. There's millions of businesses who use Shopify as their storefronts. As a user, as a consumer, we know how loyal you are to that particular brand because we can track that. We also look at things like, you know, how many purchases you've made and what the dollar value of their purchases are, so that we can give you the loyalty discount that you should be sort of getting rather than the broader one. From a business, we also know, because we're a Shopify app, we also know what the purchase prices are for particular items. So, and then we also know what they're selling it for, so we know the profit margin. So we can match the discount that we give to the actual margins to make sure that we can actually tweak the two. Not just for, you know, the consumer just getting a blanket 25% discount if there's a particular item there, which is only 20%, and not for 10%. So we know both sides of that coin. So who are our customers? So we've done an MVP, and we had that in there for about 6 months. And, you know, from dinnerware, clothing, coffee, every other business in between as well. So our algorithms don't necessarily need to know what the item is. All we're interested in is what the actual purchase price was, so the cost of the good, and what they're selling it for, so we can work out the margins. So what do the screens look like? For a consumer, the first time you ever use Veeper discount, and this is in real time, by the way. So when you first, you'll set an account up, and then every time you go to the store that is using these Veeper discounts, you'll get the loyalty type of discount. But this is in real time. When I say real time, what I mean is as soon as you add something to the cart, you'll see the Veeper discount, whatever it is. So you don't need to go to checkout to see what the end result is. You can see that for every item you add. From a business perspective, we show a bunch of analytics. So we're showing them the average order value, we're showing them the other sort of analytics as well, so that they can know how well we're working for their business. Who's our competitors? So our competitors are probably some of the biggest names in the e-commerce space, and they've got a big kitty of money to go play in this space. But we still believe that there is room for companies who are personalising, doing real-time rewards, so we don't use any type of code or anything. We're doing this in real time, and we're personalising to the consumer. But we're also looking at the business side as well, and we can, you know, improve their margins. So how do we earn money? So we charge a 2.5% commission on every item. So if there's a $60 share, that means we earn $1.50. So what does our projections look like for both the costs, the revenue over 5 years, and also what's our sales and marketing plan for the next 5 years as well? So at the top you can see what we're projecting over the 5 years. Right now we have 89 stores that we're implementing this year, the rest of this year. In actual fact, that's 97 since this was put together. So we've got 97 stores that will have by the end of this year using Veeper discounts. And you can see we do things like, at the moment, is cold emails. We've got 1.3 million email addresses from Shopify admin, and we're going through actually emailing them. But we also are going to be doing digital marketing referral programs and partnerships. So what's a referral program? So we're acquiring customers for free. I don't like that term because I don't think that's true, because we're actually going to give them a 10% commission. So if you're a store owner right now and you refer us to another store, you'll get 10% commission. So who's the team? As I said, my name's Mark Neville, I'm the CTO. We also have Jordan and Gillian, who are in Kansas City. There are also 2 Brits as well, so there's 3 Brits. And we never met in England, we met here in Missouri. Go figure. And Robert and Brian are our Shopify app gurus. They're the ones who have created the actual app itself. My background is more artificial intelligence. So there's AI that's running in the background that's actually doing these comparisons in real time. Brittany Walt is new in our team as well. She's a brand ambassador and she's an influencer. So we see influencers as going to be very big for our business moving forward. So she's already got 40 plus stores that she's an ambassador to, and then we intend to increase ambassadors as we move forward. Any questions? Hopefully I'm missing my time. 1 minute from now.
Good job.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, if they like your answer. So,
well, I'm only a 4-star, but as many cash is more than welcome.
we got a mic here. Yeah, this is work. You have to talk close to it. Anybody have any questions?
Watch the wires.
So, Mark, what's your acquisition cost per store? And how long does it take you to earn that back once you sign for it?
Because this is more of an MVP, these are stores that we've had relationships with, so we actually, the acquisition costs are very low. Moving forward, especially when we get into digital marketing, that's when, if you're going to put adverts on the Shopify itself, that's when the costs are shooting up. But right now, the acquisition costs are very minimal. And a lot of referrals as well, so that's 10% of the sales that we know from that store, so that can be quite expensive. So we've been advised to put like some parameters on that and not just say 10% for that commission, because that could go on forever.
If you like his answer, you can give him some cash. If you don't, you can move on.
Do it at the end too.
So I saw, so you have 89 stores now.
Well, 97. It was 89 when we put this together. It was actually 97.
Since the presentation.
Yeah, since we put the slides together. That was today. There was a bunch of other stores that's been done.
Awesome. So what is your, it sounds like you have a good plan there. What is your plan to blow that out and hit I think your next mark was 374 stores. What's your go-to-market?
Yeah, so a lot of that is going to be referrals. What we've realised in the e-commerce space is a very competitive space, so a lot of that is going to be referrals, but also partnerships as well. So we're working with developers who develop for stores and giving them a referral as well. So a lot of this is really, one of the slides was showing when we're going to do this stuff, we're actually attacking all of them at the same time. So we are doing not just the cold emails, but we're also doing, influencers as well. We're getting connecting with them, and that's really where we're getting a lot of our referrals. So that 97 is really coming from math.
Okay, I'm going to get you 20,000 because I think the fact that you got some stores while you were still putting your slides together.
Thank you.
Mark, it's good to hear you, and just love the British accent. I'm an Anglophile, so that's going to get you some cash right now. And especially the fact that it's Missouri that brought the Brits together, so that's a good thing. Remind me again, just in case I missed it, how do you have to log on to Veeper as I'm going to wherever it is to buy, or how does it get embedded?
Yes, the first time that you go to a Veeper discount store, it will say, do you want to create an account with Veeper? So you create an account, and we use all the different types of Facebook login, or Google login, or whatever. You log in, that's the only time we'll ever do that. So once you do that, our system then is looking at how loyal you are to which store that you're shopping at, and then we can start giving you very good discounts.
I'm probably like a lot of folks, I've gone online and tried to see what code is still working, and who's got it for this concept, so I like the fact that you guys have put it all together.
Yeah, we don't use any type of codes. That's the beauty of our system. So we're coming away from program codes completely. So none of our systems use any type of codes.
With that in mind, I appreciate the concept. I'm going to give you $50.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Scott. That's very generous.
I love to get discounts, so you're getting money for that, for sure. So my question is, do you track the abandonment rate? Have you seen an abandonment rate of either businesses or
Yeah, so the stores, they've got ways of tracking that through Shopify anyway, but we do see the abandonment. So one of the things that we're working on is the net iteration. It's a thing what we call smart nudges. So when we run some user surveys, what we found out, as we said to people, how important it is to you to get a discount. What is the most important thing to you? And free shipping seems to be the big one. So it could be that we would have smart nudges on Veeper to say, hey, we'll give you free shipping if you add X to the cart. So we're looking at that as the next iteration of what we do to add these smart nudges in. But yeah, there's a lot of abandonment, but it's not because of the discount. It's mostly to do with somebody just figuring out they've got something better to do rather than to complete the purchase.
All right.
I'm going to give you $30?
So we have any questions from the audience before we move on? Yes, Paul.
How much money have you raised in that Kansas City big competition and the one out in Kentucky and altogether?
Probably around, there was a dorm room fund as well that was invested into us.
180.
Probably around 120K.
Gotcha. Thank you.
120,000? Cool. All right, very good. Anybody else? All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. Mark, great job.
Thank you.
Take your cash and go back to the table. All right, we do have our county exec, Steve Bellman, snuck in the door. So Steve, say hello to Steve. Great job, Steve. Thanks for being here tonight. If you want something to eat or drink, let me know. I'll bring it over. All right, up next we have Danny and his team here for ToDue. So, Danny, you got your, you're going to plug in right to your video. All right. Danny Mullen here from ToDue. So, can you get moving? All right, so pay attention to Kate. She's also the timekeeper.
Good afternoon. I am also British.
All right, Brits coming over here.
Round two. If you could briefly just give me a second, I do have to set up some technical things, so if you could just wait my time, thank you. You'll need to see if this sound works.
ToDue? Yes. I think the volume's on the remote. I think.
Yep. You'd use the YouTube volume as well.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time today. I believe I'm ready. All right, good afternoon. My name is Daniel.
And I'm Millie.
And we are here today to talk about remote work and present our platform ToDue.
Remote work is hard to get right. Gaps in clarity within an office environment can be resolved by stopping by a coworker's desk or tapping them on the shoulder for a question. In the remote world, due to the lack of proximity, these gaps must be filled with clarity of instructions. Examples of bad delegation are when work is created without context, relies on the assignee to gather the necessary materials, and assumes the assignee can fill all the unanswered gaps. Bad tasks are thrown at employees without questioning if they possess the level of competence, have the time in their schedule, and overlooks the impact it could have have on the current workload of that employee. With all these bad delegation issues, you can trust the supervisor manager needs the work done ASAP and without complaint. This is bad management. The unfair distribution of work across a team of similar level employees can also impact morale. If Sally does twice the work Steve does in a week with the same position, pay, and expectations, does the supervisor recognize the difference in work produced? If they do not, does Sally lose motivation to be as highly productive moving forward, or does she settle into doing the bare minimum like Steve? Lastly, the disconnect between the level of difficulty of a task and the level of competency of the employee can have a negative impact on the performance of the team. Giving a new member of the team difficult work produces mistakes. Giving a senior member of the team easy work is a waste of time and resources. Lacuna was founded on the brink of the pandemic taking place. As a result of the pandemic and the freeze on our economy, ToDue was created in order to serve its parent company, Lacuna's remote delegation needs. And now we are sharing our internal product with you.
ToDue is a task management platform that allows concise, fairly distributed, competency-matched work. It's a tool for remote and hybrid teams to make sure everybody is rowing in the same direction and everybody has ownership of their paddle in the water. Many of you use similar platforms in your organization. What makes ToDue different is the performance metrics. Sally may have a 97% completion score with 1,200 points. Steve may have an 86% completion score with 500 points. So Steve's not doing good. I'm actually going to play this video as a demonstration of the product. The individual you're looking at, his name is Libby. She is actually part of this team. That is going to play with the sound. All right. So if I walk you through here, kind of what's happening, I'm adding tasks to Libby's board. I'm onboarding her. I'm doing a reference check, signing documents. I then get lazy and start duplicating tasks. I'm assigning them to Libby. And for the purposes of demonstration, we're then going to go to the we're going to check off, go to the profile, 70% completion score. That's Libby again. I'm going to mark off all the tasks and go back and have a 100% completion score. That's a demonstration. That is not Libby's profile. But I get even more lazy. But I want to onboard a second employee. The second employee's name is Michael. He looks suspiciously like Libby. And Stephen looks also suspiciously like Libby. But I can create these work sequences very quickly and distribute them across teams. That is one use case of many hundreds of use cases. So that's an example of the product. Here is the, if you look at the bottom right, this is the dashboard. And by the way, the free option of this platform is available, mytodue.com, for everybody that is in the audience and anybody who'd like to share. So because we are in the middle of a pandemic, we had 2 members of the team that couldn't make it today. However, we don't let that stop us, so we are going to have a hybrid presentation. I'm going to play this video. Libby is going to talk to you about advantages of ToDue. She is an intern at Lindenwood and also employee number 1 of parent company Lacuna. Hope this plays.
ToDue was built by a remote company for a remote company. Our parent company, Lacuna, is faced with many challenges managing employees and clients nationwide when forced to go remote with little to no notice. Due to this unique advantage, ToDue was, and still is, narrowly focused on the awkward gaps of remote delegation. ToDue's market advantages include our strategy to build features that count, not just bells and whistles. Some features that ToDue has are user work history, performance scores, productivity graphs with real-time data, team leaderboards, and team chats. ToDue also prides itself on the ability to optimize delegation. Users are able to create and assign tasks to other ToDue users with just a click of a button. Once a task has been assigned, ToDue users are able to create a distinction on the level of difficulty, allotted time, impact, and potential budget of the task. ToDue also has so many advantages, but above all, ToDue empowers remote workers to be productive and do the best without direct in-person supervision.
All right, thank you, Libby.
ToDue was built.
Now Libby is actually going to talk about competition and target market.
ToDue has several direct competitors such as Asana.com and Monday.com, and others that you can see listed on the slide. While all these task management softwares have their advantages, we truly believe that ToDue has the power and potential to be a serious player in the industry. Since the rise of the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of employees have switched to remote work. This sudden rise in the market has created an opportunity for Lacuna and ToDue to succeed.
We're running out of time, so I'm going to skip ahead. You guys can enjoy this wonderful story.
ToDue has so.
Now we're going to have the second intern. Her name is Hannah. She's a accounting major at Lindenwood. She's going to talk a little bit about the model, and if we get cut off, we don't.
The business model shows 3 different accounts you plan to provide. The first account is a free account, which allows users to use to do it at no extra cost. However, this only includes basics. The next type of account is a pro account, which comes at $9 per month cost, and this will include all the same features as basics but will have extra features. These extra features include duplicating tasks, recurring tasks, and having access to templates. Finally, the last account we provide is a Teams account.
Just because we're time sensitive, I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Please bear with me.
The business model shows 3 different.
And I'm going to have Hannah introduce the entire team, and that should.
This team is located on Main Street, St. Charles, in the OPO building. It consists of 2 interns, Hannah and Millie, employee number 1, Elizabeth, talent lead developer, and the founder, Daniel.
And then we have one more page. Very exciting stuff.
This team is located.
It's going to be a thank you message from Hannah. Is it going to play?
On behalf of the ToDue team, I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration today. Daniel and Millie will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
How are you marketing and acquiring clients?
That is a very good question. Right now, we have about 70 free users. I have acquired probably most of those myself. There's probably a few of you in the room here. It's just word of mouth right now. I don't believe the product is at a point yet where I will want to spend money on it, but I'll spend my time.
Absolutely. So you said what differentiates you is your metrics.
Correct.
Do you have any way of actually measuring somebody's competence, productivity on a particular task versus somebody else, or is it just straight, it's supposed to be this number of hours?
Wonderful question. So, in part of the development roadmap, when we get to building the team section, probably ready by Q3, we're going to enable the administrator of the account to make the decision about the level of difficulty of a task, and then understand the nuance of how that varies. Theoretically, if one person is completing a task and you assign that task to lots of people, if it is the exact same task, it should have required the same time, the same level of competence. A second piece to that is we have not built it yet, but part of the roadmap is to build levels of competence within the platform. So level 1 task is assigned to level 1 competency, and level 5 task is assigned to level 5 competency.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
$40.
So one of the questions I had was in regards to who gets to see how this stuff is passed out. Is it just on the supervisory level, or does somebody else see what's being given to another employee and how they're scored?
Another great question. Right now, as the product stands, you can choose to make it public or private. This is, as it stands, you can make it public or private. This is to enable the administrator to decide. When we get to the team, when we build the team section, whether, I don't know if this makes us friend or foe, but there will be a leaderboard, public leaderboard, for anyone that's used something like Salesforce. You know, the sales team has a leaderboard. That will be a central piece to what we're going for here. We're not trying to expose, we're not trying to call people out, but we are trying to be efficient and productive. And so, yes, there will be a strong team level view here.
Engineering has to, so I'm going to ask too. Is there going to be any kind of tutorial to help folks figure out what the level of difficulty is? Because some of it may be intuitive, but how do you start determining if it's more difficult for this person versus that person?
Great question. So I just wrote a huge article on this, so I can give you I'm going to give you the guidance, but a level 5 task for a librarian, 5 out of 5, is not the same level task as a surgeon, 5 out of 5. I can't make that decision for you, but you as the supervising manager, when you build the tasks, when you build the templates, when you build the workload, you're going to be able to make those decisions. I don't know anything about making cupcakes, so at some point I have to hand over to Sally, who's using this to manage her cupcake store, and she can make those types of decisions.
I'm going to give the mic to Jim and give you guys 30 minutes.
Thank you.
So Daniel, let's see, you said.
I'm using the microphone as well.
Just hold up.
Is it working out?
It's working.
Okay. So your differentiation is metrics, you said?
Right now.
Then like Asana?
Yeah,
So
sorry.
what specifically does that mean? Like, why would I want the metrics?
Great question. So if I used Asana and assigned, and you were all my company, and you all had Asana accounts, and I assigned you all work, and I just hope you get it done. Asana's really good at me seeing on a higher level what some of you have done. But none of you, I don't know if you got 90% of your work done, or if you got 70% of your work done. There's no way for me to see
So
using
you
those
get more
platforms.
visibility with your product.
Correct.
And in what markets do you think that you could really blow this out first, the lowest hanging fruit, really get some traction?
It depends how big of a fight I want to pick. So if I go after enterprise, I will lose very quickly. They want every bell, every whistle.
What does enterprise mean? Like what?
Sure. So
types of companies, like a targeted company?
10 or less. I would say 10 people or less.
But is there any specific market that you think that you could build a, like if you go after a company that's 10 or less, obviously your messaging is going to be, pretty broad, right? But to get real traction, what specific markets do you think?
So industry-wise,
Yes.
it has been very successful so far in the gym industry. This is, so the second piece to this is, it's very good at telling me what Millie has completed for me. It's also very good at telling our clients what we've completed for our clients. They can see all of our work that we've done for them. So I think that the answer to your question is right now the gym industry seems like a good industry to start with. They're not, I've got to stay away from the companies that are already in love with Asana and Monday, and I've got to stay away from those. I've got to find companies that maybe haven't adopted a solution yet, and are small, and willing to give a platform without every bell and whistle chance.
Okay, got it. I think I think you know your market that you're after, so I'll give you 30 bucks.
Thank you.
I have a really good question for you about what market you were targeting, but okay, so the list of competitors is like the who's who of the Bay Area right now. I mean, they're all out on things. So fastest in line, everybody. So talk to me for a minute
businesses. When I start trying to go after the $9 product count, I'm anticipating to probably break even, so I'm probably going to spend $9 on the first year, and you know, every year after that I make the money back. But I'm guessing it's probably pretty close to $9. Was that your...
Yeah, that's a good question. Dan, how do you do it? I mean, are you direct mail or are you email, or are you
This is where I live. This is what I'm good at. I would be scrappy, and I would probably use channels that require creativity. So I'm going to be on Twitter. I'm going to be on TikTok. I'm going to be making those types of attempts to spend less money but more time. So social media is a big part. Of those 76, I think probably 50 of them came from me just engaging with people on Twitter. There's an argument to say that's not scalable, and I may have to confront that eventually.
Okay, cool. Great answers. I'm going to cut our acquisition costs and we'll scrap it.
There you go.
And bring in early adopters through both work in progress and on Twitter. And you seem to have a pattern of bringing someone in, getting them to play with your toy, and then having them keep you up in public with it. And then you've got this commitment apparently to New Feature Friday. How has that cycle helped you narrow down what can be a very complicated product, but I find to be rather intuitive? How have you gotten there, and how is that projected in the future?
Great question. Big fan of Paul. Everyone can have Paul. So I have to be honest with you, the first 20 or 30 users, they signed up, and I didn't see what I wanted to see because the product wasn't where I wanted it to be at the time they signed up. Luckily, they gave me their email, so I then tried to re-engage them with new features. I think if you develop, one of the things I've learned in this experience is if you maintain a one-to-one relationship, people will give you a longer time to prove to them that the product is worth sticking around for. And so at first I wasn't happy. I think I'm seeing better signs. And ultimately I think at first I did a bad job onboarding. It's a software that takes a few minutes to learn how to use, and I didn't put in the necessary steps in place to create the more mature user out there. I kind of just let them sign up and then let them disappear.
So I can see how you engaged them, but was the public nature of that a plus or a minus? Because you did that all in public.
Oh yeah, I think it's a plus. I think that it's so fun to do in public. There's the new generation of building companies is building in public. I don't know what stealth mode is.
Gotcha.
You have another question? Yeah, so as a user of these collaborative tools like Monday.com for years, part of the accountability is I can't move from in progress to done until I've done it myself. So two questions for you. One, have you done customer discovery to see how these employees would feel about being evaluated? And two, do you have a mechanism to evaluate the evaluators?
Great question. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I'm going to answer the second question first. I want this to be empowering remote employees, but not just dealing with the remote employee. Half of this platform is actually to raise the level of the supervisor. The quality of, I may give you work to do, and I may make an assumption about how experienced you are. Do you have the time to do it? Have I associated the impact of the task? If I don't do
you
those
set the
things,
expectations.
if I,
You
exactly.
can't give me a bad grade if you haven't told me what I'm supposed to do.
So it's also to raise the level of the delegation of work itself. And I've forgotten the first part.
The first one, have you done customer discovery? How do the people feel about being evaluated?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure yet if we're friend or foe on either side. I think we're going to work. With regards to changing status of a task, we just built a feature from... See, I spent a lot of time spying on Asana. Asana was actually a huge inspiration for what I built here. Changing statuses, I think that one of the things I want to do is empower the employee to protect themselves. If they have a completion score, if I give you work last minute and it's due within an hour, I am setting you up for failure, and it's going to hurt your completion score. We're going to enable to say, hey, appreciate that, but you can't assign me a task during my current shift. This happened a lot early on in my supervisor experience. I was a bad supervisor, so I was throwing stuff at people to do, and I needed it ASAP. And I was not only ruining the work I gave them, and I was ruining the work they were currently working on. So that features that say, hold on a second, that gets moved to Monday.
Alright, cool. Any other questions before we move on? Awesome. Danny, great job.
Thank you. Lindenwood University, 3 of the people on this team out of 4 are from Lindenwood, and great place to come.
Alright, Lindenwood's been a great partner to a lot of our OPO companies. I love the fact that you use TikTok, because this weekend I was at a wedding down in Tampa. My daughter's laughing at me. So how old is Ella? What grade is she in? She is a sophomore in high school. So I created and posted my first TikTok video this weekend at a wedding in Tampa. So it's OPO 17 is my account, which I just created when I was sitting in the hotel room. And that was a pretty good video, I would say. Don't you think so, man? It was good. So anyway, so TikTok, I totally get it. Well, kind of. I think my nieces get it. All right, we're going to move on to the next. Is it EDUrain? Is that right? I don't have mine.
I think Pronto's next.
Which one?
Pronto.
Pronto's next. Okay, Pronto, come on up. You guys all got to figure out how to get my slide deck back here. What you got there? You did it. You had it.
You'll know if it's an The MVP we actually built when we're operating in a store cost me less than $1,000. And this can process everything, it can run payment through Square, and it allows us to scale. We're not outfitting an entire store, so we just look at a small region. In this example, you have a self-checkout kiosk, which is actually more like a security scanner that you walk through. There's a desktop. We're actually using a tabletop operation right now. Everything actually fits in my backpack, so I can walk in, set up within 20 minutes and go home. The other nice thing is we're transaction focused. I don't care about what you're buying or what you pick up. I should only care about what beer you're buying if I'm coming over to your house to drink it. And then other features is we can have an item locator. So you often look online and you're like, hey, I want this, you go to the store and it's gone. Well, somebody probably put it in the wrong place. And so with our RFID tags, you can track items and you can find them in the store. So the roadmap to profit looks pretty interesting. We built several models, and we actually built a complex Excel sheet so we can plug in store numbers as we grow. Right here I'm showing our hybrid model, which would be 12 small businesses and 12 large retailers. All of the models we run show profitability between month 20 and 24. We also would assume 9 employees and processing about 25% of the store's transactions. And all of this is built on the thought that we'll be selling our data, software, and hardware, but primarily on transaction fees of 1 to 2% for processing. And then eventually start working in extra features like sponsored content around month 21 for coupons, as well as advertising for your store so people know where to shop faster. So as we move into our next phases, and with the new prize money, we'll be putting it towards actually expanding our new RFID reader. We currently operate with one antenna. I'd be happy to show you. I brought the MVP with me. But as we go into larger transactions, we want to have more readers so it's more accurate. Right now we can kind of babysit it and make sure, and by the way, the reader hasn't failed yet, just me coding the app has failed. So the reader's doing great. But what really saved me time as well is getting a nice RFID printer, and it's the second thing we'll invest in. So currently I actually tag everything. I write the tag to myself, and then I go in the store and put them on. With this, I can preload an Excel sheet, press go, and print out hundreds of tags, and I can just go slap them on the products. As we grow, we look to grow with St. Charles. I was born and raised here. I love coming down to Old Town St. Charles. My brother actually played the 5-drum corps here, so I was down here like 10 times every Christmas season. That was a little much, but outside of that, though, we want to grow not only our business, but we want to grow with the businesses we work with. We're unique because we're affordable for the small retailers. We want to grow with them and help combat online sales because it's just not feasible and it's not as fun to shop that way. And we also look to give back to the community by working with groups like ITEN who've given us a lot and mentored us tremendously, as well as going to schools and talking to students about STEM and talking to students about the entrepreneurship so we can grow the future companies and grow the St. Louis region. So my co-founder is Michael Klein. He's currently a PhD student. He has done research for Google, Amazon. He actually done his research at the Air Force, working on machine learning and machine vision. Yes, that's who we're fighting against. I finished my PhD recently in Washington. I'm currently a research engineer. In the time I've been talking, we would have processed over 40 transactions. So, thanks.
Yeah, really neat product market fit. You really found a niche and went with that. I do have a question for you. What's your pitch when you go
partnership, and I think that's the biggest thing is how can we work together as we grow, not just trying to sell everything at once. Whereas if I were to go into a large retailer, a lot of it actually is just networking my way up. So I start out, and Quentin laughs because I coined the $7 t-shirt method. I was having a hard time getting interviews, and so I would go in and I'd buy a $7 t-shirt, and I get the cashier to talk to me, and then they would get their manager, and the manager would talk to me, and that led to pretty much an interview every time. If I would just go in and ask to talk to somebody, I would usually get, oh, what kind of manager? But then after that, when I get to that manager, asking what they're currently doing and what their problems are, so not like, what can I do for you? It's, how can I help you?
One other question for you. Do you give them the equipment and then charge a transaction fee, or do you charge them something up front for your equipment, or how does that work, and what does it cost you to put a business in, and then how long does it take to get that?
So right now, I'm just giving them my equipment to use. As I grow, there will be either an upfront cost or just a monthly payment, and then just depending on the business, smaller businesses have a lower transaction fee than a larger. And then looking at that, like the current model and what I project, I guess, for return on investment, in a small retailer would probably take about a year to a year and a half to make that just for the equipment, or just make up some of the equipment costs as they pay it off.
I really like the product market fit, so I'm going to give you $60.
I listened to the others, it's obviously with Veeper, a lot of experience, and I know Daniel with ToDue, super scrappy. To be an entrepreneur, you got to be super scrappy. And one thing I had that you, so far, like what you outlined here, as far as how well you know your competition, I was telling Mark, I'm like, I am checking boxes as you go. You really got things, you really know your market, you know your competition, and I think you'll just adjust as they come out with things. I can just see you building, I just got that feeling you're that way. I also like it on your financial screen that usually there's projections. When I do pitches, I do projections. But you went right to profitability. I would make profitability here. And I think you're doing the right thing. Here in the Midwest, we have to get to, we have to have a strategy so that we don't run out of money. And so I think you've got a really good strategy there. Now, the question, first off, I'm just giving you, we're just checking all the boxes. I'm giving you $50 right off the bat. And so have you thought of raising money after that and really growing faster after you get to this some point?
Yeah, I think that's coming up pretty soon. Really the purpose right now is to have a demo to show. So I figured the best way to attract even bigger businesses is to say, hey, I'm operating here. And then definitely looking to grow. I mean, with that profitability, that's great. I want to actually take profitability down the road even longer, only because I want to keep growing. And I know you want to reach profitability, but I would like more than 9 employees, and as you
Well, yeah, so actually, if you've got a good market, profitability isn't even discussed. In the Bay Area, they don't even know what EBITDA means. So it's about no speed of go. So I like the profitability because here in the Midwest, we're kind of hybrid. We have to, we're not necessarily going to get the kind of variety of funding that you have in the Bay Area. Although all that's changing. But, so I actually like that, but that's why usually you do just see projections because no one's really talking profitability. It's about getting out and getting the market as quick as possible.
Yeah, and I see both as being important. Investors want to make sure they're getting their money back, and
first off, Mark was British, so we had the British thing. And in the second presentation, there was another British thing, a couple of folks, right? But I saw that you bought a Beatles t-shirt that was gray for $9, so I appreciate you keeping the English. But I also like the fact that you put up the connection that you wanted to do with St. Charles. So here's $40. How secure is the RFID network itself? I mean, are people going to be jimmying with it when I'm in the store, and the next thing I'm going to be in charge of things I didn't buy, or I'm going to get a discount because somehow I tapped into Veeper and I'm using it on Pronto to get my RFID.
It's actually more secure, I guess, than you would think. So I had the privilege of talking to a district manager from Coles, and he walked me through their process, and he said back in the day they actually had foil that they would line their warehouse walls with because they didn't want to read things back. But you can now, there's ways you can direct it. So like with this setup, I could shield the outsides, and so that way it wouldn't be reading, and so you can actually direct things a little bit better.
And there's that Beatles t-shirt I was talking about.
Yeah.
So, scalability, if I understood, you are printing out the price tags and placing it on the merchandise in the store. Have you thought about partners that you can work with to sort of pre-feed those labels to stores, or what's your scaling model?
Yeah, so actually just getting this RFID printer and kind of working with it, that would be something easy to implement in stores. And then, so this is actually something I purchased from one of the big RFID manufacturers, and it is something that some stores aren't even use, so that'll speed things up tremendously. They're just a couple $1,000, so a lot of my price range at the moment. So that's kind of the direction, is buying off the shelf, because that's not something worth competing with somebody else for. But later on, maybe incorporating some, I guess, technology on our end farther down the road to streamline the process and better connect to the database. And so the next thing here is they can say, oh, here's our inventory coming in. We put this into an Excel sheet, we press go, and it just spits out the tags on it, and you can just peel them and stick them. So that's, I think, that would be actually the biggest time saver.
Great. $40 for a little mall.
All right, for the state, I'm sorry to be the poo-pooer here, but I did my first RFID story nearly 20 years ago when MIT put together all of the major retailers and the military put together to use it on pallets. They ran a nice test thing through Walmart using the smart shelves. This has been a coming technology for 20 years. There's market conditions that have made it not happen. I don't know what those are, but could you tell me what the major hurdle has been and why this didn't happen 20 years ago and how you're going to make it work?
Some of it's actually the price of tags. 20 years ago, a tag would cost 50 cents to $1. I'm able to buy them for about 2 cents, and I don't even have the buying power to get them cheaper. The other thing that's coming now is there's actually printable ink, so you just get a regular printer, or even incorporate a manufacturing line and it prints your box of Cheerios with a little bit of special ink, and that has the tag built in. Also, I think it's like a lot of technologies. Sometimes you're just too ahead of yourself for some of your applications. Facebook wasn't the original social media platform, but somebody else paved the way for them. And then they put on Instagram before anything happened to them. But so I think a lot of it's just reading the market, but also looking at really our path to fit is going to the apparel retailers because that's who's already using it. And then we're not fighting the other companies for stores to work with. And so we start building our user base there as we start pushing the grocery retailers to do so, or to have their items tagged. And I guess the story behind that is Walmart has the buying power to do that. They at one point went to their 100 largest retailers and said, every box you send us will have it. And then they said, okay, this worked great, now we're going to tell the next. And so it's working with Walmart, Kroger, and all of those stores. And Kroger and a lot of grocery stores are doing technology. Some are trying those smart shopping carts. You just can't leave the store with them, so it kind of, you buy more than 10 things, how do you get into your car?
All right, any other questions for Corey? Yes, Amanda, you have questions?
So you mentioned Kohl's, which I would love to see personally, because their lines are terrible, but they have Kohl's Cash and like all kinds of coupons and such. So how do you account for personal storage discounts? I guess if it's like a scan and go process.
Yeah. So that was actually, I think, the first question the Kohl's district manager asked me. So it's something that we consider. We're actually looking at one of our features being coupons, so it's something we would include. And working with a big retailer, we would look to form that partnership with them. So, if early on that would be Kohl's and they said, here's our demands, I know I wouldn't get out the door and get running if that wasn't in there. So that is something that we would be implementing because I know store loyalty is important, but I think for us, also making sure you can just use one app for it because I don't have the Target app or the Kohl's app because I don't want all of those. I have the space for it, I just don't want it. And so that's kind of one of our features is to make sure that we can incorporate your discounts as well.
All right, very good. Let's hear it for Corey. All right, so we're down to our last presentation, and then after that, everyone will also get a chance to beg for more cash at the end, whatever leftover cash there is. EDUrain is up next, so hold on while I get the last presentation up here. So give me a second.
Been a while since I've been here. I was there at the last one.
Oh, really? Well, fantastic.
Yeah, I had a table, but y'all didn't want me.
Oh, okay. Well, now you're not, which is awesome. All right, you get it.
Y'all told me to do that in the email. I did.
That's fine. No, that's cool. That's good.
They even called you to see if it was there.
Yeah, got it.
So, you're good. All right, all right.
Hello. So I'm going to have the slides on my phone too, because sometimes the technology doesn't work. So, and I need to keep pitching just in case the technology doesn't work. So let me run through, make sure everything is there. Okay. Hello, I'm Brian Pearson, and I'm the founder and CEO at EDUrain. EDU as an education. You know, I'm supposed to be a kid, and I had the dream to go to college, but I didn't know about financial aid and scholarships, which ended up me taking over $60,000 in student loan debt. And I'm not alone in that. actually raise your hand if you have student debt or pay for a student's debt. Most people in here, and some people are scared to even say they have a bunch of debt. Also studies have shown that too. So, 43% of high school seniors don't even file for governmental aid, and billions of dollars of scholarship dollars goes unclaimed. In a recent Hagerture News Report story ranked the governmental financial aid application as the #1 convoluted and scattered higher education forms. Adding another $7,500 to the problem is the problem students have in transition to off-campus housing in the spring and summer months. So, what EDUrain has done is we've implemented a platform that's like Zillow and financial aid for college students. Like Expedia aggregates hotel, car, and air rental, EDUrain aggregates filing for governmental aid for free in 5 minutes. We have 20,000 scholarships on our platform, and we help students get a zero-interest loan to help them pay for first month's rent and deposit, and with Zillow-like app for students to find housing themselves. Here's a screenshot of this platform. When you get on and use it, check it out later, y'all. So the value drivers for EDUrain. We've interviewed thousands of students, parents, college admissions professionals, and high school counselors. Will 100% believe that EDUrain can overhaul a broken, scattered, and just terrible financial aid housing system for students? So there's some competitors out there. There's some that are doing financial aid and trying to monetize that. One of them is Scholarly. They want a Shark Tank investment. They charge you money just to look for scholarships. Nobody wants to pay for that. But then there's also other competitors like Frank Financial Aid that does FAFSA filing and scholarships. And they just got acquired by JP Morgan Chase in the past 2 months. EDUrain is the only platform that is bringing financial aid housing together. There's nobody else doing that without an ad intrusive site. So, filing for governmental aid, filing for scholarships and governmental aid, there's a 4 million student marketplace every year. These are students graduating high school looking for aid. And then there are 12 million college students looking for off-campus housing every year. That equates to a $2 billion marketplace. Now let's talk about how we're going to get these students to use this platform. One, getting students to use our filing for governmental aid platform and winning scholarships for free. Building that database. Then going direct to them by getting students, by buying student lists and going to college fairs and getting students to go to us themselves and working with college counselors. And digital marketing. We've done tested digital marketing. On TikTok and Instagram in one day, we had 150 likes and we had 5,000 students view that post. That's fantastic. Since January, we've had 3,500 inbound marketing, 3,500 people just visit the website itself. That's awesome. So we have phenomenal product and business traction. So right now we've had over 300 users be on our platform since November 2020. And the past 90 days we've had 1,700 site visitors. So let's talk about how we make money with this platform. We do charge a flat fee for our zero interest loan. And it's in the spring, summertime, and they pay us back when their financial aid comes in the fall from the federal government. We charge $150, a flat fee, there's no interest, they won't get trapped in anything. And this is backed up a guaranteed loan. We also have landlord source tenants. We also are working with renters insurance companies sell renters insurance, and we're working with Experian to sell tenant background checks. So we do expect to do $1 million a year in 2023 and be well on our way of dominating this space that nobody's doing in college financial aid and housing. So our team, we are 4 students by students led by a CTO that used to be a developer for the Air Force. So he brings leadership and technical development skills. And with advisors that are experts in cybersecurity, higher education, finance, and marketing communications. So investment use. $1,500 will go directly into engineering. Paying people like Eli here, who is one of the smartest developers we've ever had, and he's a student himself. And then also the Lindenwood connection. I used to wrestle in the Lindenwood Open here. There's 16,000 students here in the St. Charles area. They go to Lindenwood and St. Charles Community College. There are 1,500 students at both high schools here. EDUrain can help all of them for free. At the end of the day, funding college education shouldn't be so hard. That's why you use EDUrain. Thank you.
working on a proposal right now to take to some of the local K-12 districts. And, you know, one of the things that they all mention, and the student government folks that I've spoken to mention, is it is so complex. Nobody knows what they're doing. Parents don't understand it unless you're the third kid, you know, to go through it. So this is phenomenal. My question is, do you plan to go to the high schools and principals and, you know, that the kind of network to actually promote from within?
So I'm not Oprah, but on the top of your seat was a contact sheet of people that I want you to reach into your network and actually ask. One of them is a high school counselor.
All right, Brian, I am going to give you $50.
All right, Brian.
So Brian, I think I can figure this out, but tell me, how did you come up with the name?
So,
I'm
happy to ask this question. So EDU is short for education. And RAIN is the name that's the second name my little sister died when I was 13. I believe education can build successful, mentally, emotionally, and financially strong families.
Okay, very good, very good. The other question I have is, earlier in one of the slides you talked about credit building. Is that primarily related to the folks using the loans through you guys, or how are you going to build credit for your users as was stipulated earlier?
Mostly the loans, but there are some integrations with other companies that we can help them build credit as well that won't take on a huge technical lift.
And I have to say that as a fellow Cooper grad, I'm going to give you $50.
Yeah, that's what you mean. You don't talk about SWC. It's the wrong one. Thank you so much, sir.
So one of the things that I like and that I've done with every one of my startups is on my advisors, my initial advisors have to be, I have to be able to generate revenue from them. I saw you had a Fonfon advisor.
Correct.
Are you going to be, is Fonfon going to be promoting the product some way? Is there going to be any way to generate revenue through Fonfon?
So we're getting ready to do a deal with an undisclosed college where, like, we beat them on the scholarship and housing search. So they were thinking about building one, and we're like, there's no reason for you to build it. Just use our software and work with us to personalize it for your students. So I'm not going to say if it's Fonfon or not, but, you know, there's a hint. But, so there's one way, and there's opportunities for money as software as a service is that. I didn't want to bring that in the presentation because I thought that would jump things up. But yes, the more and more we did our product development and customer interviews, the more revenue-making opportunities just landed in our lap.
Yeah, that's great. Well, great answer. And I like to emphasize when you bring on advisors, I think initially you really got to look at it. Like, it's great to bring on people that can help you run a business or give you advice on how to raise money. But when you can bring on advisors that become customers, that's a great way to do it. And I love your enthusiasm. I can tell you're a wrestler. You're like, when you do your presentation, you're like in a wrestling. That's what we have to do with investors, ready to, you know, just take them down. I'm giving you $50 here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing that you always look for whenever you see a pitch is where's the passion coming from? What's the why you building a company? So you kick this whole thing off with, this is what happened to me, and I don't want this to happen to others. So I like the fact that you understand the pain of not having to like there's in the market, which is number one, the hardest thing to do when you're doing a startup, is you got to believe in what you're doing and you're willing to sacrifice it. So kudos to that. The other thing that I really like, I was talking with the guys earlier, I have a question, I just want to go on. And we were just talking about ideas, and they were just making notes. So you guys are looking to try to figure out how to make this work right. So here's my question to you. You're talking about the students, but I'm a parent. I've got 2 boys going to college in the next 2 years. I know they're probably not going to qualify for any financial aid, but I would love for them to get scholarships. So how do you reach me? How do you reach me to make this something where I go from
again, you have this thing right here that's in your lap of people that you help us contact. And one, two, working with these high school counselors. Like, Eli here did an assembly at John Burroughs High School for EDUrain. That is mass audiences. Also, offering with high school counselors to partner with organizations to bring individual counselors in for them to use EDUrain as well. And also, like, going into these classrooms. I'm in classrooms all the time. I'm in 4 classrooms a week, just getting the name out of EDUrain and working on marketing communication projects with students. We do social media, we use LinkedIn to target folks. You're my LinkedIn friend now, so now you know. So we do a whole host of things with a very small budget that has yielded the results that we've had with students' interest, parents' interest, and our product development.
So I'm just going to throw one thought out. You're doing a demographic and study on what type of person got that last scholarship in your math to the people. One piece of advice I would give you, if you can get demographic data, you can use that as part of your outbound marketing and target people with those demographics that would have gotten that scholarship and offer it up as, hey, if you use us, you're the kind of profile, your child's kind of profile that will get that scholarship that might give you another way to reach out to people.
And also help out real estate developers build affordable student housing.
Exactly. $70. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love all this else, but the real key here is going to be that bridge loan. Back in June, I reported when we did the proof of concept and found a funder to get 10 kids that came through the cities, 10 young people. That came
They're paid off.
Yeah, that's right. To get that bridge loan so that they could get into off-campus housing cheaper than on-campus housing. Get that first month and deposit. You did your proof of concept in June. Have you expanded upon that since then and gotten a real funder to do it beyond the proof of concept?
So we are working with an undisclosed bank, 2 of them, and the Missouri Department of Finance has been working with us to develop a program with landlords where we do the loan and then we sell that loan to the landlord and service it for them at the same rate because the landlord has that buyer relationship with the student already.
If it's a done deal, why is it undisclosed?
Because I don't have contracts signed and I want to make sure I get that.
All right, any other questions for Brian here? Anybody? All right, let's give him a big hand. All right, did you guys have any cash left you can put in your pocket? All right, you guys can all the presenters just come up one last time and you can grab for the rest of the money as Kate collects the scorecards.
It can go to technical development of EDUrain.
This is your opportunity to get prizes. So for participating in the audience, while we tally up the numbers, I'm going to ask some Q&A for myself, so the audience can win door prizes, right? So door prizes. All right. So the first question I have for the audience: which OPO company recently reached $30 million? First one in the answer gets prize. Anybody hear me? What is the OPO company that just raised $30 million? Who is it? Come on, it's one of the judges. I'll give you a hint. Who is it? Mark Barneg. You know, that's right. Resilient. Randy, here you go. You got a prize. That's what these flags are, right? What size shirt? No, not Randy, sorry. I'm not good at raising money. What's that? Jim Erling. All right, come on up here. What size shirt do you want? Yeah, his wife's giving him. Yes. Jim. All right, Jim Erling raised over 200 million. I think he said 250 million. It's huge. Which OPO started recently raised 4 million for a total of 11.5 million this past couple years, last 2 years. Anybody? OPO member? Real estate? Anybody? Starts with a T. It was Transact. I'm going to move on. Next one. So Transact is an OPO member. Ryan Morris not here tonight. He just, this last month, raised 4 million. All right, how many OPO member companies are here at OPO? Closest number wins. Anyone?
47.
47. 12. 20. 59. Any other guesses? What is it? 15? 70. Who said 70? Amazing. All right. Come on.
Let's go with a large. Large or extra large, I don't know. There's other goodies in there.
All right, so we have all kinds of goodies in this bag for the startup fee. 70 plus companies are in OPO now.
Wow, awesome.
Over 70. So there's actually 70, or there's 7 buildings out here on this block that are all part of OPO Startups.
Wonderful.
So there's 70 companies. A bunch of the smaller ones, they got the business cards out there. All right, here's a good question. What are the top 5 most valuable companies in the world? Anyone? Saudi Arabia is one of them. Who else? Tesla is on the top 5. It's number 6. Anybody else? Any other? There's 5 of them. Apple. Who else? You already did one. Google's one.
Amazon.
Microsoft's number 1 right now. They just passed out Apple. Wow. There they are. So who's the first one that said that? Yeah, come on up. Yeah, Bruce. Nice shirt too.
Large or medium.
Yeah, so this is a list of them. So Microsoft just recently passed up Apple. They're 2.52 trillion. Apple is 2.48 trillion. Google is 1.97 trillion. Saudi Arabian oil company is 1.9 trillion. Amazon is 1.82. Tesla is number 6. Recently, although Elon just gave away like 10% of the company in stock. They're at a little over $1 trillion. Facebook, 10 cents, a Chinese company, which are halfway Chinese company. All right, that's that. So, Kate, how you doing? What? We ready to go?
Yeah,
all right, so now, do we have to say who first and second is before we can do the... All right, so we're going to announce who the first place and second place winner is. Kate's going to get checked out. So the prizes are $1,500 for first, $1,000 for second, and then People's Choice will do after the first 2. And then judges, you guys get money, cash, and put it in the pocket. All right, so let's go with $1,000 for number 2. Second place cash winner is Pronto. Let's go with that. We'll let you. Corey will get you out to your picture. Oh, yeah. Corey, right here. Where you go, Corey? All right. Great job, Corey. Congratulations. All right. And then we have first place goes to first place is EDUrain. So between the other two companies, Veeper and who's the other one? ToDue and Veeper. Am I saying Veeper right, Mark?
Yeah.
All right, so you guys go out, use the QR code here, or there's signs all around. Put your camera up to that, and then go vote. All right, if you haven't voted, I'm going to do it too. So this is between Veeper and ToDue. Okay. Just hold your camera up there. Click on it. And you get a choice of one, Veeper or ToDue. Thank you for your vote. Hey, that's cool. Technology. Yeah. Nice. All right. So Kate's gonna give us the time. Everybody get a chance to vote. Anybody having trouble with it? Is it working? All right. Just hold up the QR code. They're all around the building. All right. So this is for the people's choice. And then you guys don't leave. I want to get a group picture before you guys all leave. For the winners. All right. One more. And while we're tallying that up, I want to say thank you for everyone that investing in our entrepreneurs and the community. Such an important thing. So thank you to our judges, our sponsors. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate it. All right. Do we have an answer? Kate's our next. She's fast. And thank you to Kate and her dad, and Sylvianne.